everybody to our prototype presentation. So our prototype is called MEDI-ASSIS, and I'm just going to give a brief overview of the context. So based on our secondary data analysis and through the lived experiences and observations, we saw that in South Africa, specifically in the rural areas, older persons have challenges with regards to accessing healthcare facilities and healthcare services. Furthermore, there's also limited resources with regards to their health services. So this app mainly focuses on older persons who are currently suffering from things like diabetes and hypertension. So our solution to this is we have a device that operates via a radio frequency and works with solar power to charge. The reason for this was because we developed a device instead of an app, because an app requires a smartphone, and with the high poverty rates and unemployment in our communities and crime rates also being high, it's more feasible to have a device rather than an app. So this device also solves the communication gap between older persons and medical personnel, and is also inclusive of older persons with disabilities, in essence, the blind and the deaf. So I'll just give a brief overview of how this device operates. So as you can see, we created a mini prototype. We did not have much resources to have a holistic or an actual product of the device, but we just used recyclable resources to create this prototype. So as you can see, it says blue indicates for, my laptop is. So I was still explaining our prototype and how our device is going to work. So we've established that we're adapted this idea in the following ways. Instead of an app, like I said, we're using a device. And instead of focusing on one illness, we're focusing on making healthcare in general more accessible to older persons. So foundations have already been laid for this device because they're already local pop-up clinics and in many communities in rural areas. So how this device will work, it's almost going to work like a panic button that the older persons can press to get immediate medical assistance. So essentially the device will be linked to local clinics. So as you can see, blue represents help, red represents cancel, and braille and sounds are used to accommodate people who are blind and deaf. And of course, with everything we do, we need to identify our limitations to this. And we establish that the device can be misused, so older persons can click on it constantly and consistently, even though there's no medical emergency. And our biggest problem, especially in our country, is the reliability with regards to funding for the device. With validation, because we're very far from rural areas, we are in more established areas, we made use of secondary research analysis to establish that this problem exists. And our limitations were that we could not reach the entire demographic of older persons. Money to survive and sustain this device is from government funding, mainly for lower socioeconomic areas, i.e. rural areas, and corporate social responsibility from various companies that are working hand in hand with non-government organizations in our country. And the impact that this device will have is there's going to be a decrease in the burden on the South African healthcare system and facilities, and it's going to lessen the contact and contraction of other diseases, most in essence, COVID-19. So an older person will be in the comfort of their home and receive these services from their household. And it also makes access to healthcare easier, and it links older persons to healthcare services. And we've also established that it's in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 3, which is good health and well-being. Our team, we sort of adopted a holistic. We looked outside of our own team being the team members from the University of Pretoria, and developed a more holistic team, everybody that's going to be involved. So all the collaborative partnerships, which are going to be us, government, NGOs, the youth in the rural areas who are going to educate older persons on how to use this device. And when we look at the bigger picture, the older persons are also part of our team because this is what mainly impacts them and affects them. The medical team that is going to work with the older persons when they press this panic button, and students through fieldwork practicals, IT students, social work students, and whatsoever. So our next step, starting from here, is starting with the relevant stakeholders to make this a reality, liaising with government officials and whatsoever. It does sort of sound ambitious, but we will try to make it a reality and also do more research on the demographic and specific geographic locations where this device will be needed. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, MEDI-ASSIS, Team Pretoria. Great presentation. So I'll pass the, once again, to Judge Ms. McCain for the first question, and we'll follow up from the facilitator side. Ms. McCain.
Thank you, Zandile, for such a well thought out presentation. I really enjoyed the cognizance of context, and like the previous group, you thought a lot around inclusivity and accessibility. And I also liked that you brought in the limitations you identified as potential challenges to this project. I just have two questions of clarification. So you mentioned you identified this need through your own experience and also through secondary data analysis. What data did you use in this analysis?
Mostly photographic data, so like autophotography. So when watching the news, seeing the state of rural areas, seeing how older persons are living in rural areas. So I would say autophotography. I'm not sure if it's the correct way to put it, and yeah.
Thank you. And then you mentioned corporate social investment as potential funding. Have you identified any maybe local companies who you might want to approach for this kind of funding?
To be honest, no, we have not identified any local companies.
I'm sure that comes through the iteration of the process and further research. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCain. Any question from the facilitators that are present?
Okay, sorry, I keep asking questions, but thank you so much for the presentation. It was wonderful. I'm curious because I don't know about the context, so I'm curious that is healthcare, is access to healthcare an issue in South Africa, or is it availability of healthcare, which is an issue? So I would. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the question. I think mainly it's access to healthcare because in our rural areas, we don't have sufficient resources to cater to the entire demographic. So we mainly have older persons, we have children, we have the youth. And in the recent years, 2 years ago, because COVID-19 was a prominent issue, most of the resources were allocated to providing healthcare services to COVID-19 patients. So yeah, it's mostly access to healthcare. So establishing a device that is going to cater to older persons and all other types of healthcare issues, which are mainly in South Africa, diabetes, hypertension, we felt like it was going to be viable and relevant to the context.
Okay, all right, thank you. One last question would be that, because it is a device, so have you thought about who is going to design the device and how will you sustain this business if you start it?
Okay, with regards to designing the device, like I said, we spoke about having collaborative partnerships. So we're going to liaise with our own, because we're students, university students that are maybe studying IT and whatsoever in their field work and practicum. come up with certain solutions that are going to assist us in developing and building up this device. So mainly IT students and yeah.
Okay.
And to also generate new ideas and improve the functioning of this device.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. I also see we have questions from Pobo, our facilitator. So Probo, if you'd like to ask away.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Zanil, I had a question. It's more curiosity than a question. You know, I understand the device. My question is related a bit to what Sadaf just asked about. You know, this is a kind of a device for first responders, right? And especially for the demography that you're trying to cater to out here. Do you think, so you have the device and the device sends out a signal. Do you think the infrastructure in South Africa, especially around Black townships, you know, would you be able to ensure that, say, an ambulance with EMTs get to the location where the device sends out the signal from?
I think, yes, that's also going to come with the process with regards to building up the idea. Like I said to Ms. Sadif, with regards to involving IT students. And because we took that into consideration and made it a device that does not necessarily use wireless, like Wi-Fi, because of the resources and infrastructure we have, but rather solar power and what's the radio? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand about the device. I'm talking about the other side of it. So I send out a signal. Who's going to catch the signal and who's going to come to my rescue is the question that I have.
Oh.
And do you have an existing infrastructure in, especially around these the demographies, the Black townships, etc., that you're trying to, where of course the need exists? Does the infrastructure exist in such places? Is the question.
Okay, so with regards to your first question, it's going to be first responders that are in the local clinics in rural areas, because in rural areas, there are already existing local clinics. So it's going to be mobile clinics and local clinics within that specific rural area. And with regards to the infrastructure existing for this device, I think some rural areas are a bit more developed, although not all. So we'll try to work around the infrastructure as well for that. That will be a continuous process, but there are currently infrastructure that exists for radio signals and network connection and in some developed rural areas.
Thank you, Zanil. All the very best with your idea. I hope you can take it forward.
Thank you, Sandeep and Team MEDI-ASSIS.